Bienvenidos a este evento que hace parte de la agenda cultural del Colegio Gimnasio de la Montaña. Por favor, no le hagan caso a la traducción porque está configurada inglés-español, entonces va a decir cosas que no tienen nada que ver con lo que yo estoy diciendo. Queremos agradecer mucho a Fijin. Por favor, Fijin. Un aplauso para Fijin, por favor. A Patrick. Un aplauso para Patrick, por favor. Y a nuestra profesora Mapis Alarcón, para que también pida un gran aplauso, porque se han tomado el tiempo de preparar este encuentro para nosotros. Este evento se está preparando desde hace mucho tiempo. Hace más o menos unos 2 meses comenzamos con Fijin y con Patrick, mostrándole a los estudiantes de primaria y de bachillerato parte de sus tradiciones y parte de su cultura. Ellos son unas personas supremamente generosas y siempre han estado dispuestos a compartir todo lo que son con nosotros. Entonces, muchas gracias, thank you. También hemos preparado una muestra artística con los estudiantes de cuarto, inspirados en máscaras africanas y con una curaduría de Fijin y Patrick de artistas nigerianos contemporáneos. Entonces vamos a encontrar aquí una curaduría que también nos ayudó a hacer Alex, en donde dialogan esas dos formas y esas dos expresiones artísticas, lo contemporáneo del arte nigeriano con la expresión artística de nuestros estudiantes de cuarto, que querían tener este lindo detalle con Fijin y con Patrick, especialmente con Fijin, que es su profesor. En el marco de nuestra agenda cultural, este año queremos conocer a los nuevos integrantes de nuestra comunidad y conocer parte de su cultura. Y como no vinieron a escucharme a mí, los dejo en compañía de nuestros invitados. Un aplauso, por favor.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Today, we are honored to share in a rich conversation alongside 2 remarkable Nigerian colleagues who bring with them invaluable perspectives on the depth and diversity of Nigerian culture. Our goal in this panel discussion is to explore Nigerian heritage, to challenge some of the preconceived ideas that often shape the world's perception of Nigeria. We believe that by sharing stories, experiences, and insight from Nigerian voices, we can better understand the complexity of beauty of their culture and contribute to a more accurate, inclusive, and nuanced view. So, a round of applause for Fijin and for Patrick. Well, welcome both of you, and of course, I have to start with the introduction. Can you introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about, which part of Nigeria you're from?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Patrick. I'm from Nigeria. I'm from the part of the region of Igbo, where we are known for business. We are known as businessmen, and with our customs and dance, food, and all that, you know that these particular people are from the Western region.
Nice, thank you. And you, Fijin?
Good afternoon. Thanks for the opportunity to be here. My name is Fijin. I am from the western part of Nigeria. I'm Yoruba. The Yoruba people are known for oral tradition, for music these days. Afrobeat is led mostly by Yoruba artists. And I tell people that I'm from a culture of kings and queens and deities.
Thank you. So, to start a little bit about knowing or deepening a little bit in Nigerian culture, how would you describe the cultural identity of your region? How would you describe it? How it goes? You all told us already a little bit about this business part of your region and your music and dance part of your region. But what else can we know about those specific places you come from?
Okay, I would say an Igbo man is always a traditional man that knows how to talk to his wife. He's always a family man. He's always as a person that is into. There are two different type of people. They're either traditionalists, or they're kind of like living a Western life. So it depends on the particular, well, how will I put it? Okay, it depends where the person was raised. Okay, so if you are kind of you're raised in, let's say in a small town, you always know an Igbo man the way he speaks. Once he speaks, you know that this man is from this particular region of Nigeria.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. Fiji?
He was talking about where you're raised. I was born and raised in Ile-Ife. Under Yoruba mythology, it's known as the origin of the universe, of the entire world, including Colombia. But the Yoruba man, all Yoruba men have the idea that they are from my city. So it's quite important for me that I'm from that city. It's a city of traditions. It's a city of worship of our ancestors like Shango. I know some of you have heard about Shango, Ogun, Oshun, Oya, all those gods. They were people that existed as humans among us, but they did important things like win terrible wars and liberate their people, and they are worshipped as deities.
Okay, thank you. So let's start talking also about communication and language in some way. We need to break these walls about how language can shape our culture too. So we know that Nigeria has over 500 languages, yeah? So which ones are spoken in your community, and how do they shape communication? For you, how would you describe how it shapes communication? The different, either way, dialects or languages, because we know that you speak English, it's part of your language, yeah? However, I would like you to tell us a little bit more about those 500 languages that you have also in Nigeria.
It's a country divided by dialects, but united thanks to the British by by the English language. So, and Nigeria is actually quite proud of that. We are actually quite grateful to the British for their work in the country. So, the Yoruba language is a language that was not written initially by letters. It was written with pictograms, with drawings. So it is more descriptive because drawings are descriptive. It is more of what you see is what you say. And now that we write the Yoruba language, you pronounce it similar to Spanish, what you see. Like my name. If you ask me, how do you pronounce your name? The only difference is that the Y in English is not J, it's Y. So it's not that deep. So language affects the way we communicate, I would say.
Thank you. Fiji, that it would be.
And you can just shorten it to Fee. That's okay. That's fantastic.
Another thing again is that Nigeria is a very big country, and like we said, we have over 500 languages, but we cannot communicate with each other. We cannot communicate with each other without speaking English. So that was what he talked about British coming in, because I don't know his language. He doesn't know how to speak my language.
Well, you speak a little bit of Yoruba, right?
Because I was privileged to be born in Lagos.
But I was not privileged to learn your language, for example.
Yeah, I was born in a city, a very big city called Lagos. So I'm not too traditional like he is. He knows a lot. While I was being raised, I was able to learn his language, and at the same time I kind of know how to speak my language, which is Igbo, but not really. And but the thing is that my parents, they were always speaking in English. My environment was English.
The inside joke that we have about that is that he is Gomelo, like.
What?
And so.
Okay. Now you know that you're Gomelo.
So he first of all, he was not raised in a city because in Nigeria you're from where your parents are from. You're not from the city where you were born in.
Exactly.
So what city are you from? Like, what is your city?
Okay.
Go ahead.
We have over 36, if I'm right, 36 cities in Nigeria. So one of them is called Delta States. So I'm in Delta States, we have different towns in it. And I'm from the Aniocha South, which is called Owashuku.
Owashuku.
Yeah, and it's the Igbo-speaking part of Delta, because in Delta we have different languages also there. That's why it's a big ethnicity.
There is actually more diversity of languages in your region than in my region, because at some point in history, the whole region was an empire. It was the Yoruba Empire. We had a time when it was led by the Ibadan Kingdom. Ibadan is a city in Nigeria. And they just fight wars against their neighbors and conquer them and take slaves and take their property, and it becomes part of their zone. So that's why our region is not that diverse, but yours is, and well, that's it.
Okay, interesting. Now that you mentioned that, of course, that if you didn't have English, you couldn't communicate between yourselves. I would like to ask you, we have, like in general, in all languages, what we call like some proverbs of some idioms, yeah? For example, in English, when we say break a leg, yeah, it's something like good luck, yeah? And it changes depending on like either way the cultural diversity, the different influence of languages, yeah? Which ones would be like some idioms or some expressions or proverbs that you can teach us a little bit here? Like when you say break a leg, Patrick.
Well,
okay, I think I know something.
Yeah.
I know one.
Go
I think
ahead.
I know one. It says like this: Anyada funti. It means that your eyes cannot see your ears.
so
Anyada funti. It's not possible for your eyes to see your ears.
Okay.
it would probably mean
Like
like
the
you
meaning
cannot see
beyond that.
everything, right? Like
No,
you
it means that's something forbidding. It's something not proper, inappropriate.
Okay. Interesting. Thank you. P.
Yoruba have so many proverbs. One of the proverb is that I find important as well, because I find identity in those things, is Omondegbon Agbagbon Lafidale Ife. Meaning, it's not going to translate. Meaning that it's the combination of the wisdom of a child and the wisdom of the adult that we used to found my city, Ile-Ife. So that is really important for me, because when I teach or when I interact with kids, I interact with them knowing that they are wise people too. Because I know that it is both the wisdom of the adult, of the older person, the wise men, as we say, the really old people, and the wisdom of the child that make a society.
Beautiful. Thank you. Now that you mentioned this, I'm also interested about talking like your family structure, like the idea of family, yeah? What roles does family play in your community, and how is respect shown across generations? How do you see that in your own communities?
All right.
Go ahead. Because go ahead.
Yeah, I guess
Yoruba is different, very, very.
the Yoruba culture is, well, first of all, the family structure is husband and In some cases, a lot of wives. In other cases, one wife. Like in the case of my father got married to his wife and had 4 of us. I have 3 sisters. I am the only boy in the family. That is the family structure. Respect. When, I don't know, I greet Mr. Leopoldo, I always try to bow my head because that is, exactly. Because that is part of the culture. That is like respect, a sign of respect. When I greet older people, Lucila, Maria Mercedes, Miss Aime, Angie, Felipe, not so much because.
I think you're missing something there.
Felipe, because we're neighbors and we have ice cream like in Santa Fe.
But that's no. As a boss, you also have to say Mr.
Yeah.
Mr. Felipe.
So yeah, that's.
Or rather, you say Sir.
That is crucial because I cannot, in theory, I should not call him Felipe. But Felipe says, call me Pipe. In fact, he wants us to call it his nickname. And I'm like, okay. So, traditionally, it's not acceptable. And then, culturally, if I wake up in the morning and I want to greet my father, I as a man, demand prostrate. Like, I lie down flat on the floor to greet my father. And the woman bends her knee to greet the parent, the older person. In modern day, you can just bow. You don't have to go completely, but traditionally, you do have to go down completely.
Okay. Something changes across like different
Yes,
in your region? How would
it's
it be?
a different way when it comes to us. We just have to stand and say good morning, good morning. We're like the Western. We have like the Western culture. We don't do like prostrating and the rest of it, no. And the Yorubas will say, the Igbos, they don't have respect because they're not prostrating. And the rest of the thing, no, we don't do that. We just say good morning, good morning. But there's something very unique is that we recognize our elders by saying, good morning, sir, good morning, ma, and so on.
Okay, so we have like a regional difference over there. Okay, so taking that into account, I'm also like interested about exploring. We, like for example in Colombia, we have different like celebrations, like family gatherings together that we normally have in our, I don't know, family environment. So how do people in your culture celebrate life events such as like weddings, births, or funerals? Which ones would be like the traditions that you have when we talk about these specific events that we celebrate, like culturally celebrate, but how would it change? And we want to know a little bit about how it is.
Okay, when it comes to Igbo, it's very expensive. It's very expensive for you to get married to an Igbo lady. You will have to pay what we call a dowry. You have to pay something very huge. Not just paying that amount, but you still need to give money or clothes or some other things to the relatives, sisters, siblings, and the rest of the people around. Like you have to give them, they are going to give you a list, a traditional list. There's a list for it. So it costs fortunes. It costs a lot. Very, very expensive. So, and
this would be when we're talking about weddings, right?
Weddings.
Correct.
So after the traditional wedding, after you finish paying that, you also need to do a big ceremony for, to appreciate the people that came there. And you have to call, like you can see from the video, a lot of people dancing. And the lady you can see in between, she's the bride. She's going to take, there's something we call a calabash. It's and another thing we call palm wine. It's gotten from the palm tree. So you get the wine. The father of the lady is going to take the wine and pour into the, it's like a jar, but it's called calabash, and the father gives it to the lady, the bride in question, and the bride will have to take it to look for her husband, give it to her husband, and the husband drinks and put money into the jar, called calabash, okay? And she will have to carry her husband, walk with her husband, dancing back to where her parents are. After that, then the parents will give their blessings, and after that, then the big ceremony will start. That is the first day. The second day will now be the white wedding, which is a church wedding, which is also very expensive. Okay, so in general, Nigerian, they celebrate wedding in a very grand way.
Okay, and what about either way births or funerals? That they symbolize in our culture something really important. How would you describe it in your culture?
Sorry, I was still on weddings. And
still on weddings. Okay, we can continue with weddings. It's okay.
The Yoruba wedding is similar as well, as not as expensive as the Igbo wedding, but it is a ceremony. Nigerians like to party. We do like to party. And the essential part of the wedding is when you seek the blessing of the family, you prostrate and kneel, like we said. The greeting, you can see the bride kneeling before the father. So that's the key part of the ceremony. But talking about naming ceremony, you said,
yeah, we're talking about like births or funerals, for example. That
birth,
symbolize.
for example, birth is, for me, it's really important as well. So when a Yoruba child is born, on the 7th day is the christening, the naming ceremony. They bring some symbolic things, symbolic items like honey, sugar, and a special type of cake that we call adum. And what else? Some things, some physical elements, mostly food. And they give it to the child. For example, they say, this is honey. Your life will be sweet as honey. This is adon. May you never lack things to eat. This is salt. I don't remember the blessings that they pray, but they pray blessings based on the materials, the traditional materials that are given to the baby at the time of the ceremony. And then we have another proverb that says that before you name a child, you look into the family. What is the situation? I am feeling Foluwa because my parents had a boy. As the firstborn, he died. They had 2 girls, and they wanted to have another child. They wanted to have a boy, and they asked to God for a boy, and I came, and they gave me the name Fiyin, which is thank God. And my second name Ebenezer, which is, this is the last one, no more. But miraculously, I have a little sister. 10 years later, a few years after my mom went into menopause, she had my little sister, which is named Miracle because she is indeed a miracle. So we look at the family before we name a child in Yoruba land.
Beautiful, like this symbolism that you have within births. What about you, Patrick?
I think it's the same. It's the same. There's nothing different from that when it comes to childbirth and naming ceremony. The difference, I don't think there's any difference. There's no difference. It's the same.
Probably the difference would be the type of clothes that we wear. You wear your traditional and our traditional.
I think it's pretty the same.
Yeah. It would be like the slight difference, yeah?
Yes.
And when it comes to funerals, when we symbolize like this idea of death and what we celebrate.
Okay, when it comes to funerals, it's another crazy thing in Nigeria. Yeah, it's a funeral is being celebrated as if they're celebrating. Okay, it's known that they're celebrating a life, but it's like they're celebrating a birthday, a party, a big party. mostly when it comes to an elderly person that died. It's huge, crazily huge, in the sense that they spend a lot of money buying caskets, dancing, making different kind of, bringing different kind of dance groups.
Tell us about like your grandma, I don't know, your great grandfather's ceremony, for example.
Was I there? That's the question. Okay, like my dad, when I lost my dad in 2021, may his soul rest in peace. It was, we did the church, and we also did the traditional, because he was a titled man. So first of all, they took him, after bringing him from the mortuary. Usually, we in Igbo land, we keep the bodies for as long as you want in the mortuary, okay? But we, as the kids, we decided to bury him 1 month after he died. So after bringing him from the mortuary, we took him to the house, where the place they laid him was decorated like as if someone wants to get married. Yeah, and they dressed him white, and the best clothes, the best rings, the best everything on him, and they placed him into they laid him where his kinsmen are going to come around and say the final farewell, and they say some kind of prayers and the rest, and that was for the traditional. Then after that, when we were done with that, we had to take him to the church. So we did, it's a Catholic, my dad is Catholic, okay, so they did the Catholic prayers and the rest of it, and after that, they took him back to where they are going to lay him down, which is my father's compound, and they laid him down. We all cried. There's something we call the first child must throw a white cloth. After the first child throws a white cloth, the second child, and so on, as much as how many, it depends on how many kids but he has. But my father has 4. Okay, well 5, but 1 is late. So we're 4, so we threw the white clothes for him, and the Reverend Father did what he needed to do, which is to pray, and we started pouring the sands, and that was it. Then after that, the main celebration started, which is a big party. Yeah, a big party whereby we had over thousands of people came. Thousands of people came from different places, from outside the country and everywhere. Came, and he was buried, and they started dancing. Then they had to call, because we're 5, so they start with the first child. They will call her out. She'll come and dance with her friends and family and the rest, or people that want to come after that. When she's done dancing, there's a lot of spraying of money and all that. They spray her money, because our first child is a girl. The second one, after she was done, the second comes, the same thing till the list. Then another party starts. So it's kind of very expensive, and to me, I feel that it's not necessary, but because of a custom or a traditional thing that Nigeria has been known for.
I'm sorry, go ahead, please.
Well, I forgot. On the other hand, if it was a young person that died, you wouldn't probably have that much fanfare. The Nigerian celebrates life. We call it, it's literally celebration of life. Because, and especially when it's an older person that died, he's lived his life, let's party on his behalf, you know. But recently, nowadays, people choose not to do that much ceremony. They just bury the person, each member of the family throw some sand to like bid them farewell. That is the rite, throwing the sand.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, because I believe that, of course, when we have like these celebrations, such as births, weddings, and funerals, they're also connected to one specific religious view. Yeah. So I would like to ask you, what are the main religious practices in your region, and how do they coexist with other beliefs, like in your region and your region?
I was mentioning earlier the worship of deities. We call that, well, different names, but it's generally called traditional religion. There are lots of gods and goddesses and gods and goddesses. And for example, in my city, we have a festival called Olojo Festival. It's a period where we celebrate the god of iron, of metal, and the god of commerce. So there is still in Nigeria, there is some animal sacrifice, which is worthy of note, although it's not a good news, but it's tradition, it's culture, and it continues. And there are lots of, like, you're not gonna fight me because I worship Oshun and you worship Shango, or you're not gonna fight me. We have, let's say, 40% of the country is Christian, 40% is Muslim, and like 20%, well, when we say Christian, that is including Catholic and Pentecostal and everything. 40% Christian, 40% Muslim, and like 20% traditional worshippers only. There are people that combine the religions, but the country tries to live in peace together. There is some religious extremism in the north of Nigeria, especially along the Sahara Desert, where there is, of course, the factors that contribute to extremism: poverty, hunger, lack of water, absence of the government. But the rest of the country do their best to, for example, in my city, in A City, you have a lot of Christians, Muslims. You have churches on this side and mosque on the next side of the street, like together.
What about you, Patrick? What do you?
I think he has said it all. Because it's the same when it comes to religion.
Okay.
Yeah, you're either Muslim, Christian, Pentecostal, Catholic, and the rest.
Okay. I would like to ask you about festivals. You mentioned a little bit like how like different festivals related also to religion, right? So, what are some of the traditional? Are there festivals unique to your region, and how do they celebrate them? You mentioned one, related to religion, but let's see, or how can we explore maybe another one? Other festivals, for example, in Colombia, we have different festivals depending on the region that we are.
Okay, Calabar Festival. It's not a particular city's. It's not a particular city's festival, but it's like we have different cities coming together and celebrating their culture. So, like we have. Let's show you what it is.
Yeah, and there is a lot of Caribbean influence on Calabar Festival.
Yeah, it's being celebrated every December. I think 28th of December or thereabout. At the end of the year, people come from different part of the world to celebrate that festival. So we have the Igbos, Yorubas, and the rest, the Hausas, a lot of people from different part of the world, different part of this country. So it's not particularly backward. I think backward. Yeah, that one. So, please no.
It's not a video, it's a picture.
It's still loading?
We didn't put a video there.
You didn't put a video?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
But more or less we can see how, like, we can picture a little bit like this festival.
That's the festival, Calabar Festival.
It's a street carnival, basically.
Yeah, we have
It's
something similar
But
here.
like Barranquilla.
Okay.
Exactly.
That would be an interesting comparison, like what happens with the Carnaval.
You've been to Barranquilla Festival and Calabar Festival, right?
Yes, I have been there.
So you have been in both of them.
Yes.
So it would be similar. That's
They
why
have
you can
similarities,
contrast.
yeah.
Okay. Which ones would be the similarities then?
I'll say their costumes, okay? Because we have something different from this. I don't know, there are more costumes, but I don't think you guys have costumes like this. But they have similar costumes and the whatever and all. The rest of the things.
Yeah, the headgear. Following the line of Patrick, festivals. This is one of the Yoruba traditional festivals. This is done in Ogun State. It's called Ojude Oba Festival. It's basically the party of the king. And by the way, almost every city in Nigeria has a king and then a local government chairman. Then we have the governor of the state, we have the state legislators, and then we have the senators and then the president. That's how the country is organized.
Okay, now that we're talking about festivals, something that we love, it's music and dance, right?
Yeah.
And I would like to know, how would you describe like the traditional music or dance from your culture? And if they have or they do have like a symbolic meaning.
Go ahead.
Yoruba, I'm traditional, they said it before, so. The Yoruba music is mostly ancestor worship songs, and we have family songs like Oriki. We call them Oriki. It's like the eulogy of the family, and that influences modern music like Afrobeats. If you search on Spotify, search on Spotify Afrobeats and play the songs. Most of the artists and composers are of Yoruba origin. They come from that culture. And if you look at the topics of or the lyrics of the songs, they are usually about praising either myself, because I'm from a culture of king. You either praise yourself or you praise somebody else. You praise the richest man in Nigeria. You praise a woman that you like. You praise, what else? You talk about money. And that's the modern Nigerian music is focused on that.
Okay, and I know you brought some examples because last time you showed some examples here.
Yeah. When it comes to Igbo, their dance is usually with energy. Okay, so you want to play that?
Continue talking first.
Okay. The dance is usually with energy, and it's mostly they're talking about love, talking about respect, talking about norms and the rest.
Okay. We're trying to see here like one example.
Yeah. Patrick is going to dance.
He's not.
Yes, and we talked and we.
He's feeling he's going to dance.
No. So, tell us a little bit about some famous artists or musicians that have influenced, like the Nigerian culture as a whole, that we can explore also.
Flavor.
Who?
Flavor.
Yeah. Flavor is an Igbo musician that infuses traditional Igbo culture into modern music. So
yeah.
That's very cool.
Shina Peters.
Fela Kuti is the grandfather, is the originator of modern Afrobeats, as we call it. With a little bit of influence from jazz as well, but mostly traditional African music. We have Herbert Ogunde. That is spiritual. So if you're exploring Herbert Ogunde, you have to be careful.
You mentioned it's a spiritual in like what's beyond like listening. If we listen to this either way type of music or songs, why you're saying that we need to be careful?
That's what Christians say, I
Okay,
guess.
okay.
And I'm Christian.
Okay.
But his music is focused on worship of the ancestors.
Okay.
Some element of modernization and Christianization is the demonization of our deities. So people believe that you are channeling energy when you're listening to those music, so you should probably be careful what energy you channel into yourself.
Interesting.
It's like, I think what he's trying to say is like you're invoking spirits. You're invoking
Okay.
spirit that is not supposed to be around you. So when you start singing those songs and all that, you're kind of like invoking, like attracting what you're not supposed to attract.
Yeah, but that is Herbert Ogunde. Herbert Ogunde is for the deep and the spiritual, but other musicians are really good. Burna Boy, Rema, Davido, Flavor, what else can we mention? Whiskey.
But these ones are mostly Western,
modern and westernized.
exile songs.
Okay, we would like to open like this mic for you to ask questions to Patrick and Fian. So we would like to listen if you maybe have any question that you would like to ask them.
David has a question.
Okay.
I would like to ask you this link between Colombia and Nigeria, besides our shared history about slavery and all this colonial past, but I would like to go further than this slavery and colonial past and see if you share with us or like what elements do you share from our culture or that you see that we share of your culture. If you see this link between Colombia and Nigeria in any way.
The link when it comes to, I don't know.
I guess
Let's say food.
Food.
In a way.
The coast of Colombia has similar food to Nigeria, but I guess it's still. There's no way you can think about the link between Africa and Colombia and not talk about slavery. It's unfortunate, but maybe not unfortunate actually. Because so African music. I guess Pablo should answer the question about that. Like African music influences music all over the world. Because at the beginning, Africans were at some point nomadic, so they took their culture around the world as well. But also, percussions is at the heartbeat of African music, and we find that in Colombian music as well. And I don't know what else to add.
I think it's just the coast, like the pacheta,
merengue,
champeta, and what else? I don't think.
Yeah.
Okay, Mapale, yeah, Mapale, yeah, that's it. That's a good one, Mapale.
I was going to ask about, to finalize the question about music, but in champeta, and there's also like another rhythm here that we have in Colombia called terapia that are very guitar based. What I get from what you were exposing is that in Nigeria there are not many guitar based music but more percussion based music. Is that correct?
That's right. For example, I think in both regions it's drums. Like drums form the basis of music. So then you can now layer other things on the drums, like the strings, which are actually modern instruments, not traditional at all.
Exactly. Then you're out of traditional when it comes to strings.
Yeah.
Okay, so to my understanding, it could be that champeta, as I know it, came from more specifically from Zimbabwe. Would you have any knowledge of that?
I used to think that it came from East Africa. Okay. But we have to find out. We have to research.
I think there's still a trace to every Africa.
Yeah.
Every African country. There's still a trace.
Like Igbos have dances
There's still a
similar to
trace.
Mapale.
Yeah, there's still a trace.
Thank you.
Paul Inch has a question.
Hello, how are you? Okay, in my very limited knowledge on African literature, two of the main figures that appear, of course, are Chinua Achebe and Chimamanda Adichie, of course. And they talk about a very big tension between tradition and, let's say, Western cultural practices, cultural religions that come from colonization. And I have always been very curious about knowing whether these tensions are something that you believe is something from the past. A lot of people, particularly in Colombia, I believe, think that colonial problems are problems that have already passed. And I see it very present in contemporary African literature, and I would like to know, what do you think about it as contemporary Nigerian locals? How do you see those tensions?
Well, I personally, I very much, so colonialism started with us Africans. We actually, like, my city would go and fight against the next city to expand their territory, and they would take slaves. We were taking ourselves slaves. So the British came to take advantage of the system. Like, they saw it, they did business with it, pure business. So from and when you talk about Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie and you talk about Wole Soyinka, Chinua Achebe, I'm biased. Wole Soyinka is Yoruba. I expected you to mention Wole Soyinka. So when you talk about those people, they are critical authors. Like, that is their job. They have to criticize. They have to research into the ills of colonialism and the negative effect it has on culture. It's fantastic. It contributes to intellectual knowledge. But the average Nigerian is just wants to party, like
Those things were in the past.
Yeah.
Those things, when it comes to, I don't know, all those things that we're talking about were just in the past. It no longer exists. It no longer exists. This time around, you have the lady for themselves, you have the man for themselves. There's nothing like these days around, you get to see that the ladies, they are more educated than the men. So it's not like before, where you have they say, the boy or the man is the man, and ladies are not, they should be in the kitchen. Those things don't exist any longer. That was then. Now the ladies are out, the men are out.
We're out.
We're all equal now.
You will still find, like, extreme cases of machismo in our countries.
You still have the traditional guys.
You will still have extreme cases of everything, extreme cases of, even in some parts of, like I said, where you have religious extremism in the Sahara, you would have actually child marriage actually does exist in some parts of those places. But the average Nigerian knows, we know our left from our right, we know what should be done, what should not be done. And
those things now, they are being taken to court.
Exactly. So the Constitution is the Constitution.
It's against it now.
The Constitution protects the rights of children and women. What else? I was going to mention something important. Yes. In comparison, in opposition to what you would find in the United States, the average Nigerian is not advocating for reparations, is not advocating for anything to fix what has happened in the past.
No, because those days, you can see a man that is 80 years getting married to a girl of, let's say, 5. That's ridiculous. But it's no longer happening. It's happening for those ones that are hungry and they don't want to air out. But when the girl gets to a particular age where she's exposed, then she airs out and it becomes a problem to the society.
Deep questions, yeah, more deep questions.
Hi, how are you?
Hey.
I would like to ask you, how much time have you been here, and what is it that you like the most about Colombia?
He was here before me.
I've been in Colombia. Well, I've been in South America for like 8 years in total. I was in Ecuador a year or so, Mexico, Brazil, Colombia. Well, Colombian friendliness, like openness to the world, which is what we have here, you know, is the most amazing thing.
I would say what brought me to Colombia was I and my wife, we're fans of Telemundo. So we were crazy about Telemundo, so we usually watch Telemundo always. Like, once it's time for the program, we're there. We're like every second watching it. So we're crazy about it. So we got an offer talking about coming to teach in Colombia. And my wife was like, Colombia? Okay, Colombia. I was like, but you said you love the way they share themselves love. You love the way they hug themselves. You love the way they touch themselves. Okay, you go ahead. She was like, okay, I should go ahead. You go ahead and see how it is. I said, okay, let's see, let's try. So I decided to come.
2018, yeah?
2018, yeah. So I decided to come. I came 2018 January, and to me, I felt loved. I felt like a place to be where I always dreamt to be, because I'm kind of like I'm doing many things, so I'm always stressed out. Like, I get to bed at 12, so when I was here, I was like, hey, at 6 o'clock, no, what am I saying? At 6 in the morning, I go to work here in Colombia. Then I come back at 12. Then I was working in a government school. Then I'm back at 12:01, and I have my friends around. We talk here, and they're like, hey, let's go and party. Let's go and have a drink. And like, now I have all the time. So I was telling my wife, hey, I think we're being stressed. I think there's something we're forgetting. We're forgetting that we're going to get old someday. It's not all about the money, it's about peace and your health. And she was like, okay, so is it good? I was like, come and see for yourself. And I did some videos, and she was like, really? And she came. And she was like, okay, she's going to come. And she came in, I think, March, 2 months after. And she was like, I don't think we should go back. I think we should sell off our business. I think we should just quit in Nigeria and focus here. And we've been here.
Mr. Rodro.
Hey, Phil Patrick, thanks for sharing with us part of your life and part of your motherland. I have two questions. The first one, Christmas is coming, so what are you going to do this coming Christmas time? And second, do you know if here in Colombia we have a Nigerian community to share, for instance, in this coming Christmas?
Yes, we have Nigerian community here, but we're not so large. But I don't think there's a party this year. Is there a party? I don't think so.
Nigerians like to party, so we
always like to party. But the thing is that one of us might choose to party,
and then everybody comes.
And everybody comes. Like last year, it was me. Well, I called everybody. We partied. So I don't think there's anyone.
Well, time will tell, Mr. Rodro. If there's a Nigerian party, you should come. We would invite you in December. The second question was.
But I'm traveling.
Okay, yeah. Well, safe journey, my friend. The second question was: are there traditions that are similar to Nigerian Christmas traditions? What do you think?
Bro.
Like
the Christmas carol, like decorating of the houses.
Yes.
Streets.
So those are
and the rest.
Like more modern, I would say. Like the government of the city or the states decorates. You know, like have you seen Alumbrados de Navidad in Medellin? That is fantastic. So it also happens in some cities in our country. I mean, I don't think it's traditional, it's just Western, I would say. And then, well, my memory of Christmas is sitting down on a table with my sisters and cooking talking till 1 a.m. while we cook what we're gonna eat the next day.
And I think here you guys travel to let's say if you're not from Bogota, you go to your city where your family is and the rest. Nigeria does that too.
We travel to, yeah.
I would like to know about your educational system, school system. Is it a unique curriculum or several curriculum? Is it in English or in your different languages?
Everything that is official in Nigeria is in English. Nothing is outside English.
Yeah.
And
we were discussing in one of the trainings with Paul. Our system is kind of modeled after the British system. Students have to learn specific things, like, you have to know the definition of a cell. That is the traditional education system of Nigeria. We have about 6 years in primary school.
I think it's the same. The difference is that we have 12 years, like the States. From primary, from grade 1 to 12. That's what we have. It's the same as, and I think we have calendar B in Nigeria, not calendar A.
Only.
Yeah, we just have one calendar, which is calendar B. And when it comes to the discipline is key. When it comes to Nigeria education, discipline is key. They don't play with discipline.
And then there are lots of international schools like Gimnasia La Montaña, but mostly British, American, Turkish, Montessori schools that are bringing, this model of education that is sometimes not qualitative model of education or Montessori model of education. Some schools offer IGSE, this international exams, Cambridge exams, IB. There are IB schools.
Basically, it's the same.
Yeah, essentially the same.